In the world of emerging businesses, less than 10% make it to their fifth year. But what if you had the financial insight to break that mold and thrive? Today's guest is a master at helping businesses do that. With over 24 years of experience in strategic finance, Sal is the founder of CFO of Pro Analytics, a firm dedicated to guiding entrepreneurs through complex financial landscapes. Having worked in venture capital and as a fractional CFO, Sal is a true advocate for empowering business owners with actionable insights that transforms their growth. And whether you are navigating capital or navigating through raising capital or improving operations, his approach could help you turn numbers into tools for your success. Welcome to another episode of our Founders Podcast. I'm your host, Ash, and this is a show where I interview proven founders and industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you build and launch and grow your business. In this episode, I talked to Sal, the CFO of Pro Analytics. Sal, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Great. Do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you would like to share with our audience?
I would say quote. There's probably something I can think of, but I would say, just in general, I am inspired by making knowledge and know-how available to other people.
Hmm.
And the things that I know that I can share with people to help them kind of improve something they're doing or take, adopt a different point of view. I really like paying that forward and, you know, just imparting, the knowledge that I have and things that I've experienced as a business person and also personally to help people in their own lives and businesses.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So, do you want to talk through and tell our listeners about what Pro Analytics is? What is the service or product
Sure.
do? Who is it for? And what's
Yeah,
the main problem
absolutely.
you're trying to solve? Yeah.
So CFO Pro Plus Analytics is a CFO services business. We have a very talented group of people that apply a methodology for strategic finance that is based on three things: uh, a single source of truth on data, due diligence
Hmm.
readiness, which means that your finances and the way that you present your business and its strategy is ready for discussion with target audiences whenever needed. And the third thing is equity value creation, which is helping business owners focus in on the decisions that are really going to drive the value, the underlying value of their business. Now, those are our three principles that we live by, but every
Hmm.
company is different, and every the way we execute against those three principles is very customized to each situation that we're in because it's different entrepreneurs, different business models, different ways that they finance themselves to date, different objectives, and so we customize it, but always are trying to target those three things.
Hmm.
And what we do is provide CFO services all the way down to bookkeeping if needed to really give the entrepreneurs a very professional strategic finance function that is at a level of capability that most of them, you know, would have to pay a lot more money for to staff a full team to be able to do it. And because we're experts, we do it on a permanent part-time basis where you get all of the service without any of the overhead. And the types of businesses that we target are pretty much in any industry. They're mostly in the U.S., $3 to $100 million of revenue, and
Hmm.
depending on the revenue scale, also the business. Sorry, the service that we offer could change slightly.
Okay, that's interesting. So most of our listeners are either founders who got seed funded by accelerator programs like YC, Antler, Entrepreneur First, Sync, etc. Or almost around 40 to 46% people who are into 9 to 5 rat race right now, but they want to get into the founder space. One of the biggest challenge um, founders face in this particular space is getting financial clarity, especially when it comes to businesses and startups, right? How do you define financial clarity, and why do you think so many entrepreneurs struggle to achieve it?
So for me, financial clarity is aligning the finances of the business with the priorities and objectives of the business
Mm-hmm.
itself. So a founder has an idea. They may be very advanced with it. They may have some product market fit. They may be producing revenues. They could be much later stage and actually have a lot of clients. And the financial clarity is really trying to align what's happening with the business with what's possible and what is actually happening from a financial standpoint. So
Mm-hmm.
looking at things like customer acquisition costs, staffing projections,
Mm-hmm.
uh, different types of commission strategies for your salespeople,
Mm-hmm.
making decisions about offshore labor and development,
Mm-hmm.
how to use AI to enhance the productivity of your business. These are all things that have very serious financial implications. And when we're forecasting the business, we're designing a forecast that is a very, very good replication in numbers of what the business is and what it's trying to achieve. And that allows the founders to kind of sit back and really look at the mechanics of their business in a financial projection and do what if scenarios. When there's a big change that happens in the business, we can immediately modify it in the projections and show what the financial impact is going to be. Does it mean that you're going to be growing the business faster? Is it going to not grow as quickly and you need to raise more capital? That's clarity, right? When you can just sit down with your CFO and have that conversation and really try to strategize about what's going to happen with this business with everything that we know about it and that we put into our forecast.
Interesting. And these are the things which not really founders think when they start or they jump into the new startup like space, because they're more into product, and potentially customer.
Right.
But looking at the overall picture could benefit your
Yeah.
business quite a lot.
Yes, and I think also, with really early stage founders, there's a saying that I heard from another fractional CFO who's been doing fractional CFO work for a really long time. I'm talking almost 2 decades. And his phrase is, the words founder and CFO are not used in the same sentence until it's too late. And I think that what founders should think about is that a CFO is really a very high functioning advisory function. And even if you're just trying to figure out product market fit, a good CFO, even if you only work with them for a few hours a month, should be able to give you a lot of insights into the financial implications of the product market fit that you're trying to achieve. For example, let's say an entrepreneur has a product that they've come up with for let's just say it's like
Let's say a SaaS product.
Yeah, let's say it's a SaaS product. It's a
Yeah.
new meeting recorder
Mm.
for video meetings that uses AI,
Yeah.
right? And they're trying to figure out what the product market fit. They know there's a lot of competition, and maybe their product market fit is that they're creating this meeting recorder that will, I don't know, automatically translate the transcripts and dub the conversation so that they can share it with uh, team members in remote locations who are need to know certain things that maybe don't have English as their like first language. I'm just
Yeah.
making this up, right?
Yeah.
So a good CFO is going to try to understand that product market fit, and they may immediately say, "Oh, okay, well, you may you may be approaching that from an English centric standpoint,
Mm.
but in fact, it might be more useful from a Chinese centric standpoint because in China, the video recorder user is more likely to not speak English, but they may have to work with people who speak English.
English. Yeah.
Whereas if you're already an English speaker and running a business speaking English, you have people working for you in China, they're probably already pretty capable in speaking English. So you may not need it as much. And a good strategic CFO is going to say, okay, well then now we need to think about distribution and marketing in China or distribution and marketing in India. It's not, and that's where we're looking for product market fit.
Mm.
So you can, and I'm just making up an example, but a good CFO is going to look at what you're trying to do and try to think a few moves down the chessboard in terms of what are the proof points, what are the financial aspects of this that are going to make a difference for you that we can plan ahead for today,
Mm.
so that you're not, um, you know, reaching that point in time and you never thought about it before. Obviously you can't think of everything, right? But
Yeah.
a good advisor with a good financial background and a good sense of product and marketing, which some CFOs have, can really be beneficial to founders. And it could just be, hey, I want to talk to you, 3 or 4 hours a month, be involved in my staff meetings, help us strategize, help us think about what we're talking about in financial terms. That's at a very early stage. You could do that. It's not that expensive either. And I would say, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think it's a pretty good investment.
Indeed. Indeed. And Sal, would you be able to take us through a use case as a story from your previous experience while you're working with a founder? How did actually it shape up? So, since from the starting, how did this founder or company get in touch with you? What was the process to, subscribe to your services? And then what was the things you discovered while working with them which helped them grow like, you know, like
Sure.
magic? And then how did it impacted their service?
Yeah. So, without naming names, I'll
Yeah.
just give an example of a client that is in the e-commerce space
Hmm.
and produces branded products, sells them all around the world, and they came to me through a referral.
Hmm.
So they have a business partner that works with them that knew me,
Hmm.
and they had grown into the tens of millions of revenue. And the business partner, had discussed with them the idea that they should be thinking about hiring a CFO.
Mm.
And they looked at hiring a full-time CFO and realized that to get the quality that they wanted, it would be expensive for two reasons. One, the CFO would cost a lot of money, but two, a CFO doesn't operate in a vacuum from a financial standpoint.
Mm.
From a financial strategy standpoint, they usually need a little bit of support. And then they were thinking that they needed to add another finance person to the team. where so I got introduced. The discussion was, yeah, look, instead of having a budget of $300,000 to $400,000 a year, and this is a bigger company, but $300,000 to $400,000 a year, where you can have like a CFO and maybe a financial analyst or something like that. We can offer you a service that's basically $150,000 a year, less than half, that gives you everything that you need. And so the financial proposition for them was a very good one, because they were committed to making the investment. And I was coming in with just a full service, because we do exactly what we need to do without all the overhead. We could deliver it less expensively.
Yep.
So we started working together, and the business was growing quite nicely. And the initial scope of work was to do strategic CFO services, build them a 5-year forecast, help them do some permanent capital planning to raise equity in the business, and to help them expand into some different channels. Now, after 2 weeks of working with them, what I realized was that they actually had recurring working capital deficiencies that were causing their business to have stress, I would say, at the founder level.
Yeah.
Like managing receivables and payables. And what I did was we pivoted, and we did 2 main things. One was, instead of going right to the 5-year monthly forecast and budget, we built a 13-week cash flow model. And every week on Monday morning, we would review the starting cash balance for the week, and we would review exactly the revenue collections and payments that were going out the door that week, so that we could really remove the uncertainty and stress from everybody. And if there were moves we needed to make, we could make those, and everybody could get aligned on what the right strategy was week to week to week.
It was clear on the face.
It was very clear, right? Instead of the founder waking up in the morning on Monday and thinking, oh no, is channel X gonna pay their receivable this month, this week, and am I going to get $200,000 in the bank so that I can make all these other payments to my suppliers? And that became very transparent, right? To go back to your point about financial clarity, that's a really good example of financial clarity, right?
Indeed, yeah.
And so that's what we did, and that really helped take a lot of pressure out of the business, because people were really could get stressed out from time to time about what was actually happening. And obviously, if you're trying to run a business, if there's things that you can worry less about, that's always a good thing, right? So
indeed, especially about the finances.
Yeah. And then what we did was we transitioned there, and we looked at how were they funding their working capital. And we quickly arrived at the conclusion that they did have a very reliable working capital lender that they were working with, but the business had grown to a point where we should immediately try to find a new lender who could do more and make more capital available. And that's what we ended up doing. We ended up upsizing the facility by 25% with a new lender at actually a lower rate as well.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah.
So, and it made a big difference in the business. So.
Amazing. And what would you anticipate if they did not reach out to you would have happened to them? This is like sort of like a
I think they would have hired another fractional CFO.
Yeah.
I think they would have. Yeah, if they didn't. I mean, and that one, I know that there was competition to win that business. I think they interviewed 2 other fractional CFOs. And by the way, I didn't necessarily have e-commerce experience, but the reason that they picked me was because of the forecasting and because of the capital raising, which I immediately demonstrated we could do. So the planning on their side, I think, panned out, and they got what they wanted.
You, you've worked with both family owned and emerging businesses, right? So
Right.
what what do you think, in your opinion, like what are the unique financial challenges these type of businesses face in today's world, especially with AI, integrated into our getting integrated into our day-to-day life?
Yeah. Well, I think on the AI side, there's a lot of opportunity to um, improve repetitive tasks
Mm,
that are somewhat time consuming, but can allow you to focus in on things that are more important because you end up having more time available to you.
yep.
I think we're in the early stages of that right now. I think the predecessor to that is basically different tools and technologies that are pretty readily available on a subscription basis that allow you to do things more efficiently in your business. But I think
Yeah.
AI takes that to another level, because you don't have to find exactly the right tool that you can subscribe to. You could potentially, use AI to answer things for you ad hoc, or if you got the time and the team, you could use it to actually just develop a, a custom widget for you. So
Mm.
there's a lot of opportunities to do that. I think that really enables founders and family business owners to focus more on the core business and how they're going to
can
grow it, which is really to get more clients.
can
Um,
we create a new CFO out of AI?
uh,
Sorry
I mean,
about
maybe
just,
maybe at some point. I mean, you never say never. I think the robotic CFO probably works better with the robotic CEO, I think, but
I guess so, yeah.
but who knows? Um, there is a lot of talk in my industry about the automation of bookkeeping through AI.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely companies that are trying to solve that problem. I
Yep.
think that there's definitely certain transactional aspects of bookkeeping and booking entries into the accounting system that lend themselves pretty well to AI, especially when you're looking at doing reconciliations and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, the um, the com- complexity of certain aspects of businesses, though, especially if you're dealing with organizations that have multiple entities, like a holding company with like two different businesses, and if there's money moving in between them and up and down, those are more month-to-month decisions that get made by the owners of the business. And the way that those transactions get booked, I think, have uh, a little bit of subjectivity to them, which I'd be curious to see how AI eventually deals with that. It's it's not a set it and forget it thing, I don't think. But if auditors can be replaced with AI, then maybe the whole bookkeeping stack will be fine.
Yeah,
It'll be just
depending
a
upon.
machine checking a machine, and so. But there's a lot of effort around that. Some people have asked me, like, can AI build a financial model and a projection for a business? I would say probably at some point in the future. I mean, when I look at the financial projections that we create, they are fairly complex, and having the ability to do input into the system to get the output is definitely something that AI works really well for. So I would see, like, there's a path of um, solving some layers of the financial forecasting, and then eventually, you know, doing all or most of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
a financial forecasting template is one of the most searched term among founders. If you go on like SEO tools, you'll find that. Would you
yeah.
be able to provide a template for our listeners later on at some point?
So I have templates. My templates are very sophisticated templates.
Mm-hmm.
They're all driver based. Like I have I can't show it on screen here, but I have a financial forecast in front of me right now.
Maybe you
That
would be able to share, I don't know, with the share screen, but I don't know if
no,
it is
I
like
can't because
sensitive data.
I can't because it's confidential. But I'm just giving
Got
you
it. Okay.
an example. I'm looking at a recurring revenue SaaS like business.
Mm-hmm.
My financial model has probably 50 tabs in it
Mm.
that are all created to generate a monthly income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. But this is
Got
all
it.
driver based. So I can go in and say, I'm going to change the date of this model so that it starts, on May 31st, 2025. On May 31st, 2025, we're going to have this many salespeople. We're going to spend this much money on marketing, and it will automatically calculate how much business you can do. And then it looks at all of the cancellation rates for all of the clients that you have from the past and in the future, and calculates out how much they're going to be worth to you over time. So these templates are for a founder would be, I think, especially if they haven't done sophisticated financial modeling, they would be somewhat overwhelming.
Got it. So
Um,
so maybe my question should be around like how can a small business or a startup founder start implementing financial models in place, and then where should they start? Like, should they just create a spreadsheet, start like this is my expenditure every month? What's your advice?
Yeah, I think that you could definitely just start with a spreadsheet. Um, uh, you know, Google Sheets, or if you're, my preference is to use Excel, but um,
Is it like a
especially with more sophisticated models, and when you're bringing in a lot of data, I feel like Excel works better than Google Sheets. But um, the you can start with a spreadsheet, and really at the beginning, what I would say is you want to do your forecasting definitely at a minimum on a monthly basis. You could do it weekly,
mm,
and um, build a little calculator that gives you um, revenue forecasts, and then have a sheet that where you can outline all of your expenditures and code them with a timing of when they occur,
mm,
and then just have that populate through the model based on the dates that are in the model. Those are some basic techniques that you could do in one sheet that give you enough visibility if you don't have anything else that you're using.
got
Um,
it.
I have just on my website, I do have calculators that are very founder friendly. Like, for example, I have a sensitivity calculator that looks at cash runway.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just go to my website, put in some data, and it'll give you a sensitivity analysis of, based on things moving up or down, how many months of cash runway do you have?
Mm.
Um, I have another calculator on the website that um, does equity dilution analysis. So if you're looking to raise money, you can go in and say, here's what I plan to do in pre-seed, seed, series A, B, C, D, and it'll build the whole cap table for you. So you can see the progression of your ownership over time.
Does that let us export that spreadsheet or model?
You could probably copy the table and paste it into Excel.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, but it's not designed. It's more designed for quick calculations than it
Quick
is
calculation.
for exporting. Yeah,
Cool, cool.
but
And
exporting's a good idea. Maybe I'll add that.
yeah, you know, if you let people export it, then people will, oh, I exported it from Sal's website. There you
Yeah.
go, isn't it? Great. So tell us about this thing. Like, what's for entrepreneurs? What, like, who? Let's say, for example, somebody who has just started, right? What is the single most important financial lesson you think they should learn early on?
Um, I would say that they should be always in the mode of trying to understand what their customer acquisition costs are,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the beginning. So once you get product market fit and you've sold the product a few times, you immediately want to go into planning mode to figure out, okay, how do I make this sale repeatable? And
Mm.
what is it going to cost me to do that? And prove to yourself that for the money that you put in to get the sales, that the margin that's coming out is going to be sufficient enough to fund a virtuous cycle of reinvestment into customer acquisition.
So
If you can,
basically, the profits.
the profits that can be recycled back into getting more customers. And the more confidently you can demonstrate that, the easier it's going to be for you to attract investors.
Indeed, indeed. And I wanted to ask this question around, like, it's getting more and more difficult to raise money for the founders nowadays, right? What are some common myths about venture capital funds, that entrepreneurs should be aware of before even seeking to go for funding rounds?
Um, a common myth, you know,
I'm sure you must have heard about it because people reach out to you, say, I want to raise 1 million. But I
yeah,
don't think so people will invest in me because my monthly recurring revenue is, I don't know, $2,000 or
right,
$3,000, right?
right.
Or somebody reach out to you and say, oh, I am not raise I'm raise I want to raise, but I'm pre-revenue, there's no revenue. I have the product is in MVP phase. Or there's somebody who reaches out to say, okay, I want to raise series A. So what kind of
Yeah,
patterns you've
I
seen
think
there?
that the thing that I would say is that uh, it's not a transactional system.
Hmm.
In other words, in my view, it's not that you need to get in front of enough investors to be successful. It is very true that you will need to talk to a lot of investors, but I think that the thing that a founder needs to think about is that this is really a networking process
Mm-hmm.
that takes time. And so once you embark on that concept that you're going to raise capital, start your networking and your storytelling and your story building as soon as you can. Because once you get on that treadmill, you're always going to be looking to raise more capital if your business is doing well. And what you need to do is be exposed with the right story to the right people very often.
Mm.
And that's going to be talking to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't, the myth would be don't think that it's transactional where that you just need one successful conversation. This is true, but the odds of you finding that one successful
One
conversation
is, yeah.
is built upon this entire networking and storytelling and story building process with really good information behind it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I interviewed a gentleman, a lady recently. She got uh, she got investment from Mark Cuban, Shark Tank guy. Um, And I think she mentioned to me, like, if you would knew that your 108th pitch, you're gonna go and do, will be the positive one, but you have to do 108, right? You will rush to get your 107 done as quickly as possible because you already knew that your 108 will be a positive one, right?
Right.
So that's sort of like a open my eyes, like, okay, don't give up, just keep doing it, because you don't know when your 108th
Yeah.
pitch
Yeah.
is, which one is that, right?
Yeah.
So,
And what I would say is also there's a difference between doing 108 pitches where the quality that you're putting out there is like C grade,
mm,
and versus doing 108 pitches where the quality is A grade. And
yeah,
that's in the storytelling and also the quality of the networking that you're doing.
indeed, indeed. And I think the crux was that, like, because you keep doing the pitch, it will keep improving, because obviously you will
Yes,
look at it
and
at
get
some point, right?
feedback. I mean, if people
And
are willing, if people who say no to you are willing to take 5 minutes to tell you what they didn't like,
yeah,
you need to know that.
you need to know that. Yeah,
Yeah. A
yeah,
lot of times you'll
definitely.
just get ghosted. I mean,
Oh
these
yeah.
people are busy and, they also, it's natural, it's human behavior to not want to tell someone what they don't like about them,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
You're polite, you're professional, but ask for it, and tell them not to worry about your feelings.
definitely, definitely. Couldn't agree more. Great. So, Sal, I have this second portion in my show where I take my guests through this note-taking exercise, which I do, and then we just reiterate through what we have talked about, and potentially you can let me know if we have missed something. So we started talking about, like, how you help entrepreneurs. So one of the biggest thing you mentioned is you help them understand or gain a financial clarity. You want to make sure that their finances and objectives are aligned, they're in sync, and that's how they gain the clarity. You also mentioned that there are a few few factors which is very crucial to gain that financial clarity: customer acquisition, staffing solution, various kind of commissions they pay out, offshore labors, AI nowadays, that's included. And based on all of this, you help them out to figure out, like, how their finances and capital could align with their objectives. You also mentioned that you have worked with you have shared an example of when you worked with the e-commerce customers of yours who reached out to you uh, with some requirements, and then after carefully analyzing their numbers, instead of giving them a 5-year forecast, you managed to convince them to create a model for them, which is like 13 week cash flow model,
Yep.
which helped them quite a lot, in expanding into different channels, raising money, and again, working with a different capital provider, which was a very good insight for growing the business. Um, and also, you mentioned about two things, which is customer acquisition cost and revenue or profit, and the engine, which actually basically pours back the money the founders make
Yep.
into the business again, to understand that if their customer acquisition cost is lower than their profit margins per unit, something like that. So that was a very good point. I think I loved it. And you mentioned that um, you know your services for Pro Analytics, you serve customers who have revenue yearly between 3 to 100 million, and you help them out with not just CFO service, but until bookkeeping, etc., whatever elements are involved into that. Um, And I think that's pretty much it. And I think the last point was around how startup founders could align or get into or habit of getting organized with their finances. Start a spreadsheet, start putting numbers in it, and potentially create a ledger for them. Anything you think we forgot or you want to add into it?
I think we talked a little bit about the fundraising aspects of networking and
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah, fundraising. That's correct. So it's more or less a network effect, isn't it?
yeah, network effect, quality of the conversations, ask for feedback, um, know what the alternatives are to your product in the market and why
Mm,
yours is better. You really need to stay on top of that type of stuff.
yeah, that's perfect. Great, cool. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, that looks good. So let's move on to the third section on our episode, which is a very quick fire round of
Okay.
6 quick fire questions. So these are the 6 quick fire questions I came up with. You don't have to answer all of them. If you
Okay.
think you don't want to, then just let me know and then we can skip one of them. You ready?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Okay, great. What are the top 3 strategies for startup founders to raise capital in 2025?
Network, um, have a very effective story that is really tied to and demonstrates your capabilities and motivations for being successful.
Hmm.
Um, and third is if you have a big weak spot in your skill set that you need to have in order to be successful as a founder, add someone to your team, whether it's a co-founder or somebody else who really can fill that gap for you.
Mm,
But network and go to as many events and meet as many investors as possible. Um, get your name out as much as possible
indeed.
would be number one.
Yeah, network is I think someone said that to me, is something like your net worth is your network.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And that stuck to my mind. Every time network comes in our conversation, I always make sure that we you know talk about this. Great. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
What book would I recommend? One book that I really enjoyed reading is called Never Split the Difference by Chris
Mhm.
Voss. He's an FBI. He was the senior hostage negotiator for the FBI for many years,
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
he talks about how all negotiations are have certain similar elements, whether you're trying to negotiate a high stakes not hostage situation all the way to a business contract. And he sort of talks about the methods for dealing with your counterparty. And obviously not just saying we're going to split the amount um, is the whole point of the book, right? Don't split the
Mm,
difference. You should have, if you're a good negotiator, you should have a good negotiating position that you can leverage.
definitely. That's a good one. I will add that into my list.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
read.
Mm, cool. What's one attribute do you think, or characteristic do you think, in your mind of a successful founder?
I think a successful founder is someone that has a very good point of view of what direction they want to go, but is sensitive to the moments where they need to pivot, which also means that they're open to feedback and response that they're getting from people that they're working with or what the market is telling them. That's crucial.
Mm. Taking feedback and understanding how they can improve.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You need to, there's always this phrase that people say is, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm.
And you know, or there's like another phrase that people say, or it's a maybe more an even more famous one, which is like, you know, the more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And
That
so,
I've heard that. Yeah.
yeah, and so in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to have a point of view and forge into the unknown.
Mm.
But you also want to know that while you're doing that, there's many things that you don't know. And the more that you don't want those things to weigh you down, but having that awareness so that you're sensitive to when you do need to change, you can make those changes and then continue moving forward.
Yeah, and keep delegating things to the people who know better than you in that
Yes.
particular.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, totally agree. That's yeah, spot on. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Well, habit wise is waking up early. I'm
Hmm.
up between 5 and 5:30 a.m. I usually hit the gym. I'm usually out of the gym before 7 a.m. Um,
You're
yeah,
out when people are coming in.
yeah, you'd be surprised at how many people are in there doing exactly what I do. But
Wow. Okay.
I would say at 5 or 5:30, it's pretty empty. But at the 6:30 mark, with the people who are trying to get out and get on with their day before 8,
Mm.
it's more crowded than you think. But I'm a little bit on the earlier side. Um, uh, so starting your day early, I'll give you like two productivity hacks that I have. One is I I I I I hit the gym quite a bit, and I like to work out. I like long workouts. Like a very consistent 1 hour. I used to do CrossFit, and I'm really into very intense workouts. So one productivity hack is run to the gym, and then work out, and then run home.
Mm.
Just make the destination part of the workout.
Mm.
Um, so I've done that for years, by the way. Another productivity hack that I would give people is I use this application called Beeper, which is it works on my desktop, Mac or Windows, and on my phone, and it's a unified messaging system. So I connect uh, LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, and there's a bunch of other apps into this one platform, and it gives me one inbox for all messaging platforms.
Mm.
So, because I find that, especially in a client-facing business, different clients have different ways that they want to interact. Slack is another one that you can include. Discord you can include, and what it does is it unifies it for you into one inbox with each channel highlighted. It's
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's changed. The app distractions and just having to check 6 different places for different conversations between friends, family, and business is. Uh, I can't think of going backward on that.
Mm. No, I totally agree. I use texts. It's a free version of Beeper.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does exactly same, but I don't think so. Beeper must be really, really cool because you've been using it for a while. I started using it like a year back, not long.
Okay. What is yours
Yeah,
called? Texts.
texts. Yeah,
Yeah.
text. Yeah,
Okay.
it's open source software. So
Cool. And it
yeah,
unifies all those channels for you.
yeah, in
Yeah.
one
In one.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
So
think. I don't think. I think Beeper is still free. I don't think they charge for it yet.
oh, okay. I'll
But
try.
what's also nice about it is, I don't know if Text does this, but Beeper also has a desktop app. So when I'm on my computer, I never have to look at my phone. I have
Phone
my email and Beeper, and I can deal with all my messages
in the
with
beeper.
with a full keyboard while I'm doing
Perfect.
other things, you know.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Text has a Mac app, but
I,
I don't know if it has a Windows app. So
I'm gonna have to check it.
hopefully,
I'm gonna check it out. I mean, like, you know, who knows? It could be better than Beeper.
yeah, I'll check out Beeper.
Yeah.
Cool. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would like to pursue if you had time?
Oh, wow. A new or crazy business. I think I had a couple in the last couple of weeks, and now I don't remember what they were. Uh, a new or crazy business idea. You know, this one's not new and it's not crazy, but I'm I like I think people of all walks of life appreciate good bread, and you know, there's a couple of small bakery franchises that make very high quality product that I've been exposed to as a consumer, and they're both growing franchises. And if I had time and sort of like, which I don't, I wouldn't mind opening a couple of franchises like that. It's a totally different business model. It's with the right franchise opportunity, there's, you know, good opportunities for growth.
Mm,
I know some people who've done extremely well in that entrepreneurial part of the economy. Um, and Yeah, it's community based, right? So
yeah,
it's cool to be in a business where you are, you know, in the community, contributing to the community. You know, I think that's kind of a cool business to own.
cool, cool. And last but not least, quickly, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Uh, an interesting fact is, you know, I grew up speaking Italian. My parents are immigrants,
Hmm.
and I Italian gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of learning other Romance languages, and I self-taught myself Spanish
Hmm.
as a busboy in college, working in kitchens that had a lot of people from Latin America
Awesome.
without.
That's cool.
Yeah, so um, that's a fun fact about me.
Perfect. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing your, story and packing some business golden nuggets. Actually, if people want to check out Pro Analytics, get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it?
To Well, first of all, on LinkedIn, you can just find me, Salvatore Tirabassi, but our website is cfoproanalytics.com. That's my business website. There's calculators, good content on there for founders, and then I also have a personal blog where I write finance about a little bit more complex finance and analytics topics for general audiences, though.
Hmm.
Try to make things digestible for people who want to understand some of these topics but don't want to get overwhelmed with technical stuff. And
Sure.
that is on my personal blog, which is tirabassi.com, which is just my last name.com.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sal, for joining us. It's been
Yeah,
an
great seeing
absolute
you, Ash.
pleasure
Appreciate it.
having you
I
on,
had a lot of
on
fun. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Founders Podcast. Make sure to go to cfoproanalytics.com. Bombard Saul with a lot of questions. I'm sure he will be able to answer your questions. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to check out his website. I'll put that into the link in the description later. And stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.